Good evening. My name is Councillor Pete Molland. I'm the leader of Milton Keynes City Council. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Cabinet. The meeting is being streamed live on the Council's YouTube channel, and the papers for the meeting can be found on the mod.gov page of the Council website. In addition to members of the Cabinet and other councillors who have joined us, a number of key senior colleagues are also with us this evening. I would remind ward councillors that councillors asking questions have 1 minute for a question and 1 minute for a supplementary question. There are 50 minutes set aside for councillors' questions. There will be an opportunity to speak on any agenda items if you so wish. Any contributions from non-cabinet members on the agenda items should not exceed 3 minutes. And councillors are reminded that there are no councillor speaking rights on referrals from council in the format it is in this evening. I will start then with number 1, apologies. Ros, have we received any apologies?
Councillor McQuillan.
Thank you. We'll move on to Cabinet announcements. There are no announcements, so I don't have any announcements. Do any other members of the Cabinet have any announcements? No. Great. We'll move on to item 3 then, declarations of interest. Do any members of the Cabinet, any other members present or any officers wish to disclose any interests that they may have in the business to be discussed this evening? None so noted. Minutes, moving on to the minutes held on the meeting on the 12th of December 2025. Are Cabinet happy? I sign those as a correct record. I'll take silence as assent as the microphones. Super, I'll sign those after the meeting. Moving on then to item 5, questions from members of the public. Ros, I believe we have 2 questions this evening. Is that right?
That's right, Leader, from Naomi on behalf of the Youth Council and from Richard Solly.
Naomi. Now, if you want to give your name and obviously representing the Youth Council, and then you have up to a minute.
Yep. Hi, I'm Naomi Jenkins, and I'm from the Youth Council. In December 2025, the government launched the National Youth Strategy, Youth Matters, alongside a 10-year plan and significant national investment to rebuild youth services and improve the outcomes for young people. Nationally, the strategy focuses on strengthening how local partners work together to improve service. However, young people in Milton Keynes want to understand what this will mean locally, not just at a national level, and what the local agenda for change will be. In particular, young people want to know how they will be informed, consulted, and meaningfully involved in shaping decisions that affect them. Our question to Cabinet is therefore, what is Milton Keynes City Council's plan for responding to the National Youth Strategy, and how will this be used to review and improve the current youth service offer in Milton Keynes?
Councillor Henshaw.
Thank you, Naomi, for your question. We're really pleased that the government have now launched the National Youth Strategy after a really long period of 14 years of underinvestment in previous government in that particular area. And I'm particularly pleased that it builds upon the key themes which we've been discussing and we've been focusing on in our local approach in Milton Keynes. And it's not a coincidence that it was just last year in August that the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, visited Milton Keynes Central Library. And there he announced the £88 million investment into youth services. And the key themes of the National Youth Strategy, Youth Matters, are well-being, so focusing on physical, mental and online safety, community, which focuses on safe spaces and connection, skills and opportunities, obviously focusing on preparation for work and life, safety and security, and that's feeling safe and secure at home, school and online, of course, and the youth voice as well, and which you mentioned as well, it's active participation in decision-making. And we are therefore wanting to consider how we may be able to build further on these themes. And we're, of course, planning to progress that through to a task and finish group in this council. And we'll be focusing on our youth offer across the city, aligning with the ambitions of the Youth Matters strategy too. And we know that having a strong youth offer across the city and recognise that some of our most effective work is done within local communities by local groups, supported through our city council, but not run by the council. So we therefore plan alongside the Youth Council and other partners too in that particular area to be able to review our current offer against these key themes and then consider how we may be able to develop further in opportunities available. Thank you.
Thank you. Naomi, do you have a supplementary question?
Yep. How will young people be consulted on the services, spaces and support that may be provided in the redevelopment of the wider city, and how will they be actively involved in shaping priorities and influencing decisions about these services?
So obviously I feel like that would be best coming from Youth Council engagement through the Task and Finish group, which is upcoming. I'm very happy to provide further details as that emerges more, and that'll be a perfect opportunity for that forum to discuss it through and provide your input and taking from various other young people to what you feel is really important for focusing on your key priorities against the youth strategy.
Thank you, Naomi, for your contribution. Ross, we've got one more question, is that right?
Yes, from Richard Solly.
Richard.
My colleague is Danny Conway. Information received from the Council following a Freedom of Information request indicates a large projected overspend in the Children's Services budget, coupled with a significant increase of looked after children, particularly those in external placements. There's also been an unsustainable increase in spending on agency social workers. What action will the Cabinet take to resolve this situation? And we did provide a copy of a report based on the data collected following the Freedom of Information request.
Thank you. Joe?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Solly. Yes, I've read the reports, because obviously we've been going back and forth on a lot of emails on this, and I have sent a response, but I'll go back to it. In any case, it is of course the case that most councils have been challenged by the increase in demand for children's services. Milton Keynes is obviously no different in that regard. Two key drivers have been the national shortage of qualified children's social workers, which of course necessitates the use of agency staff, and the cost in sourcing safe placements for children due to the national sufficiency crisis in accommodation for children with complex needs, which has seen a rise in the use of external placements, as you will know. I'll include my written answer previously on email back to you for further clarity, but I think it's fair to say that in response to previous challenges by Ofsted, we gave significant focus to our concerns for children who, despite significant family support, were not receiving the care that they deserved, which in turn increased numbers of our looked after children. And that approach was recognised by Ofsted as a good practice. And since this, that time last, we continue to see our numbers of looked after children reduce. In Milton Keynes, we currently care for 462 looked after children last I looked, which is down from a high in April 2025 of 512, which puts us well below the national rate. And that's obviously had a very positive impact on our children in external placements, and we continue to see this reduce. I'm taking a number of different delegated decisions around the area as well, which has already been passed, focusing on local sufficiency, the introduction of the Regional Care Cooperative, which is a national initiative as well, the national drive to increase fostering recruitment alongside a local investment in growing our children's homes provision. We continue to be really confident that our good service to our looked after children will continue, and it is sustainable. And of course, the recruitment and retention of our social worker staff is really crucial to us on that. I've only got 30 seconds remaining, so ultimately on that, I think that we are very confident on all the actions that we're taking to continue to build on the good level of stability we have across the wider social children's workforce and the rest as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, I think Danny will ask this, if that's okay.
Given that there will always be a need to safeguard vulnerable children, which preventative strategies will the Council adopt to resolve the current situation?
That's not a supplementary question. That is a separate question, which I'm sure Ros can note, and I'm sure Joe can follow up, but it's not a supplementary question. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Moving on to councillors' items. Ros, there are no councillors' items, is that correct?
That's correct, Leader.
Okay, we move on to item 7, which is councillors' questions. Do any other councillors other than Cabinet members have any questions to ask Cabinet members? No? I'm going to give you another couple of seconds to remake up your minds. Nope, all good. Moving on then to item 8, which is references from other bodies, references from AA, which is motions from council. We thought it would be helpful to bring this full report back to Cabinet for other councillors to be able to see what actions the Cabinet has taken on all council motions from March to 2025. Obviously, when things are referred to us, we usually give responses within the next couple of months, but we've just gone back all the way to March just to sort of follow up some of those actions that may have been outstanding and to allow the council to understand what we've taken. Just to pull a couple out, I think it's good. Obviously, that the Youth Council motion has resulted in the Youth Council being more engaged with our decision-making process, and you've said, Councillor Earnshaw, how we are making sure that the Youth Council hopefully is involved in not just coming to ask questions, but actually formulating policy as we move forward, as we should be with youth services and things like that. A particularly good decision was taken on the 20th of January, last month, or later last month, on the £3 million that is going to be hopefully ratified in the budget for flooding in Lavendon and in the Woughton area. Some excellent work that has been going on. Number 6 actually just refers to the previous question about residential children's homes, and we are moving forward with placement sufficiency, and the Chief Executive is also on chairing some regional cooperation on that and is engaged with national government on some of those reforms and some of those placements that are needed in that sector. Item 11 around the bins, particularly to flats and those that are paying management fees. The DD was taken in November with an action plan for flats, including enforcement plans, and I know many people with flats and resident planning, resident schemes have seen an improvement in that, and I know whether there's one particular place in my ward where that has not been achieved. The officers are sort of following that up with now more enforcement action, which I think is a good thing. But unfortunately, the case still remains, and I think we had that debate during council, that it is very difficult to hold some of these management companies to account, and we continue to push national legislation around there. And it was good to see, obviously, ground rents being capped recently. The government needs to go further and faster on those management companies. But I think the biggest thing that has emerged from the executive, and hopefully we'll be going forward with this over the next few years, was the introduction of the local council tax reduction scheme for people with terminal illness. And I know a number of people personally who have been able to take up that offer, and it has been a huge help to those families in their most difficult times. So hopefully council finds that helpful. We'll move on to item 9, new pesticides policy and biosecurity policy. Councillor Mahendran.
Thank you, Leader. I'm really excited to be bringing this paper tonight. It has been quite a long journey from the first conversation where officers and I discussed our ambition to get as close to zero use of herbicides as possible. But it was really important that we got this right. What they have produced in response is a thoughtful, thorough and ambitious policy for how we boost up biodiversity in our city, as well as a wider view on pest management as a whole. I'd like to particularly thank Nick Cannon for his work on this policy. Nick is an extremely passionate and talented officer, and we're very lucky to have him. Thank you to the partners who have engaged with us on this work, including the Parks Trust, parishes and Pesticide Action Network, as well as the Scrutiny Committee for your recommendations. Our process has been well informed by evidence and trials, and this is outlined in the policy. This policy not only shows that we are passionate about our environment, about biodiversity and our sustainability commitments, but it also shows that we take our responsibilities to residents seriously and pursue our sustainability ambitions in a way that provides value for money to taxpayers and delivers the level of service they expect. As I've mentioned, I'm incredibly proud to present this progressive, forward-thinking policy to Cabinet, and I would ask Cabinet to support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I believe we have a number of members of the public who wish to speak. Is that right, Ros?
That's right, Leader. We have Judith Heinemann and Beatrice Nivron.
Thank you. Judith Hyman, you're first, please. You have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name's Judith Heinemann. Milton Keynes City Council is no doubt aware of the report Playing with Poisons published by PAN UK, so that's Pesticides Action Network UK, on the 15th of January, which found traces of glyphosate, the main ingredient of the weed killer Roundup, in 3 Milton Keynes playgrounds. Professor Michael Antonio from King's College London, and supporter of our pesticide-free Milton Keynes petition, which today has 26,433 signatures, he states that our studies have shown that exposure to glyphosate herbicides is a significant risk for the development of a range of health conditions, most worryingly, a range of cancers, including leukemia. He states we should eliminate the unnecessary routes of exposure, especially for children. This policy makes no mention at all of the possible risks to human health posed by spraying herbicides. If you ask any parent in Milton Keynes if they are happy with their children playing in areas which have been sprayed, I am convinced the resounding answer would be no. In view of this recent study, will you agree to take out the option of spraying weed killer in our playgrounds before the formal adoption of this pesticide policy today? This important amendment would reassure our residents that you put our children's health and safety first, that you are ambitious in your efforts to reduce pesticide use, and finally, it would send out to devolved parishes and schools and other land managers in Milton Keynes that pesticides have no place where children play. The contractor for my local middle school in Loughton sprays herbicides in 62 schools, including 13 special schools. How often have I heard the argument, Milton Keynes Council still uses weed killers, so why shouldn't we? We hope very much that you decide today to take out the option of spraying herbicides in and around the playgrounds you manage. Brighton, Hackney, Birmingham, for example, do not spray herbicides in their parks, so it can be done. And just to finish off, I would like to thank Nicholas Hannon too for responding positively to several of our suggested amendments after the December Environment Scrutiny meeting, and we hope, as always, for a positive collaboration moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Beatrice Neve-Rawn.
Evening, councillors. I'm Beatrice Neve-Rawn, resident here in Milton Keynes. Yeah, just on that point, firstly, I do welcome the work done to provide the data on the new pesticides policy. I understand there were feasibility trials for alternative to pesticides and that the core measure of the objection to them was mostly the cost. My concerns come from being a mother with a young son. I also have a father who lives in Milton Keynes with Parkinson's, which we now know can be intrinsically linked to pesticide exposure, very well documented now. I don't think we can be ignorant anymore of the dangers of pesticides, and I don't think the council are either. This is especially true for glyphosate, which studies have connected to severe conditions that's already been mentioned. Whilst I'd like the health of people and the planet to be the motivation for change, I will focus on the argument that also considers the cost, as this seems to be the barrier for Milton Keynes Council and others. We know it's possible to both maintain green spaces and grey infrastructure assets without the use of pesticides. France has been doing it since 2017. There's an exception for invasive species that threaten biodiversity, that's understood. And anyone who's been lucky enough to holiday there in the last 9 years has seen that it's not fallen apart. There's 12 boroughs in London that are no longer using pesticides in parks and green spaces, and I think this should be the sort of starting place for Milton Keynes as a minimum. The council should be a benchmark of what's acceptable. I see the school across from my house using pesticides to maintain their green spaces and boundaries, and without intervention at city level, I think this will continue. I'm aware Milton Keynes Council have trialled several alternatives to pesticides and suggest hand weeding is proven effective but labour intensive. May I suggest that 3 areas have joined up thinking from across the council to tackle this? I know in September the council announced a scheme to help struggling residents find employment. I quote, "The City Council will be working with councils across the region to introduce a government-funded scheme, Connect to Work, that could unlock new opportunities for more than 1,500 local people in the next 5 years." So surely part of that funding that would be received by council could be put to work, and there's a great opportunity to foster new horticultural skills in the city. This could include the skills around maintaining green spaces that don't include pesticides. There's also major flooding events in Milton Keynes, including Waverden and Woughton. I know there's a total of over £3 million being spent there, with match funding from the council of over £1 million for that. As part of flood prevention now, councils are using de-paving measures, which involves putting more green where there was once paving. So this is a permeable surface that absorbs water and allows things to run off rather than causing flooding issues. So in relation to the pictures of weed growth in Brighton that was in the Environment, Place and Scrutiny Committee document, Annex C, I think it was page 60 to 62, I saw there was paved areas.
30 seconds.
Yeah, there are paved areas there that obviously weren't useful. It was obstructions to people's walking, but there was lots of road signage and other places where actually that could just be de-paved and allowed to be green or weeds. So there's another fund pot there of things for flood management that could also incorporate the cost of not using pesticides. And finally, it took 70 to 90 years to ban asbestos, with the dangers being known amongst that time. And because of that, there's a council dealing with huge litigation costs for people who worked in that.
That's time.
That's fine. So there's a lot of money in litigation we'd have to worry about if we don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Do you have any members of the council that wish to speak? No. Councillor Mahendran.
Thank you, and thank you for those points. I think what... Huh? Sorry.
Sorry, wasn't made aware that your hand was up. Keith, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Leader. Sorry, I thought I was going to tip you off. Firstly, thank you to Office for bringing this, and I'd add my support to the Nick Hannon's Appreciation Society tonight. I think he leads an excellent team in a great way. My interest was sprung last year when, attending some parish council meetings, there was concerns raised about the spraying around street furniture and street signs, with people saying there's a dead area around where they've been sprayed. So I was interested to read about the controlled drop application and just wondered whether that is what we've been doing up till now, or whether it's something we're going to start in this year. Moving on to page 3549, there's a table there, and the last entry there is about housing and pest control to notify tenants and residents at the appropriate stage. But we're not starting that for over 13 months. What's going to happen in the interim about warning housing or tenants and residents of work that's done? Page 650 or 6 or 59. There is just flicking through it. It talks about the objectives. There's no mention there about advising private landowners of their obligations. I know they have a legal obligation, but if we've got land next to theirs and we see something that might seed through wind, would it not be sensible to try and put something in place that warns them that they have their obligations? And that's just a sort of advice whether that could happen. There's also at the bottom of that page, the penultimate full paragraph, the Council's action plan implements the 3 objectives introduced in section 3.2. Is that 3.2 of the Council's action plan or 3.2 of the paper? This paper is not numbered, which I found a bit strange. And finally, on page 22 or 36 in your pack, there is a picture of a operative using a flamethrower, if I call it that. I'm rather glad to see it was a stock shot, not something that was taken from something we do currently. I'm not sure using a flamethrower with wearing Crocs is a very good safety measure. But apart from that, I welcome the the report, and again thank Nick and his very capable team for producing it. Thank you, Leader.
Councillor Mahendran.
Thank you. If I start with Councillor McLean first, I couldn't hear a lot of that. I think there are some quite extensive points, and as I didn't receive any of it in advance, I am not really able to respond point by point now. But if when the officers are going over the meeting afterwards, if you're able to send me the points, then I'm very happy to come back to them. Thank you to the public speakers as well. I'll come back on the play area point because that was raised ahead of the meeting. We have said in the report that we'll be asking our play area maintenance contractor to look at trialling all forms of non-herbicide treatment across play areas to see what's effective. That might still include herbicide in some instances, but where it is possible, we are committed to using alternatives, as I say, where we can, and the preference is not to. I would also say that in response to a number of the points raised, this policy is really a starting point. A lot of work has gone into it, and I am very proud of where we've reached. But throughout the policy, you'll see a commitment to continuing to explore new alternatives and where things come up that might allow us to reduce our herbicide usage and get closer to that zero. We will try that. I would also say that the best thing is not always the right thing. We don't have unlimited resources and abilities. If we did, there are so many things in all areas of the council that we could do in the absolute best way. But doing something in the best way that's beyond our means or that has unintended consequences would not be the right thing to do. The right thing here is to be bold and progressive while respecting value for money and ensuring that there are no unintended negative consequences of our actions, like our infrastructure being destroyed. I'm really proud of the steps we're taking here. We're demonstrating leadership and ambition, and we are doing the right thing. While we can only have control over 8% of the land in the city when it comes to pest management, and that is important to remember, I do believe that with this policy we're setting out the stall in our city. We're showing that we are ambitious for our residents and for our environment, and we are committed to doing the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Just before I move the recommendations on the paper, I just want to make a couple of legal points. Is obviously one of the members of the public raised a number of scientific suggestions. Obviously, as a council, the biosecurity policy and the pesticides policy in front of them have assessed those risks, and the policy that we have in front of us is based on the best available scientific evidence from the vast majority of the scientific community. But I think, as Councillor Mahendran said, any policy is always kept under review. And one final point is, I know we do want to engage positively with all people in Milton Keynes, but I do think it should just be put on record that I know the petition keeps being mentioned, that there's 26,000 signatories to that. Our understanding is only around 1,000 of those people are from Milton Keynes or residents of Milton Keynes, and so it's important to put that on record when a member of the public has obviously said there are 26,000 signatures on a petition. It's really important just to sort of make sure that the actual complete facts are on record. But overall, this is a good step in the right direction. Obviously, as a council, we have committed not just to zero carbon targets, but actually being one of the most sustainable places in the country and in Europe, and I think that's really a positive step forward, and therefore want to thank Councillor Mahendran and Councillor Wilson-Markley for doing a lot of work on this. Again, to thank Nick Aaron and all his team and the work that he's done with our contractors. I think it's really important as well. I think the members of the public mentioned it, is that the council doesn't actually undertake any of this work, and it's really important that our contract management is strong to make sure that our contractor and those that are doing this work on behalf of the council stick to the policy and don't just do what they want to do anyway. So contract management is really important. So it's good that I think we should thank our lead people on that contract. So is Cabinet happy with recommendation 1.1 that Cabinet agree the proposal of pest management framework, and number 2, Cabinet agree and adopt the proposed biosecurity policy, noting that this went to scrutiny for pre-decision scrutiny and has come back with, and the comments are noted in the decision paper. Are we agreed? Super. Move on to item 10, regeneration of the former Agora Shopping Centre at Wolverton, project update and works. Councillor Townsend.
Yes, thank you very much. You'll notice that 1.2 of the decision talks about how we're going to bring forward a revised Agora regeneration framework to the executive next month. So it might feel a little bit bizarre to have it on the papers this month, but it felt more bizarre to be coming to Cabinet with the budget without talking about this when it's about to come forward. It felt like that would have been kind of a bit of an omission, and it's important to be transparent and make clear that this will be coming forward next month, and that it's on people's radar. This is a site that it has been of importance to the administration for quite a while. The site was left for years. We intervened because we believe that it's important. Regeneration in this area is important. It's a historically significant part of Milton Keynes. It has a tight-knit community, and this is an area that deserves regeneration, and regeneration that is done well. It obviously has been delayed. The paper outlines the reasons for that. I am excited that we will be bringing it forward again, albeit with a revised framework. And I guess most of what we'll be discussing will be brought forward next month. We don't have any final costs yet, which is why there's no costs in here at the moment, because there's still kind of pricing sessions going on with contractors. If we could have had it ready by this deadline, we would have brought it to the meeting tonight. Just weren't able to hit the deadline, so which is why it's going to be brought forward next month. Again, I just think this is a positive thing. Regeneration is always a positive thing for our communities. This is something that we have committed to, that we continue to commit to. We have obviously already invested in the scheme. We acquired the site from private owners. We've invested in the cost of demolition. We've done groundworks. We've disconnected utilities. We've done surveys, tree surveys, topographic surveys, flood surveys, all the surveys. So we've already invested quite a lot in the scheme. We will continue to invest to make sure that it goes ahead. And I'm sure there'll probably be more interest when it's brought forward at the next executive, when we can actually discuss kind of plans, framework and numbers. But thank you.
Thank you. Ros, no members of the public have indicated.
That's correct.
Thank you. Any members of the council wish to speak? No? Councillor Townsend, are you happy? I'll just check in that no one's indicated online. Councillor Townsend, are you happy to move the recommendations?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Just again, so I remember when I was leader of the opposition, I only attended 2 cabinet meetings when the council was led by Councillor Andrew Geary, and I think one of them was to attend the meeting where the then administration, I think I'm looking at Anna, agreed that when Tim Hannam was finance director, that the scheme to regenerate the Agora would be what was called a back-to-back purchase, in that the council would essentially buy the building and then sell it on for the same fee, and effectively sort of create a regeneration scheme like that. I think that completely underestimated the challenge of the site. And in fairness to that administration, I'm looking at Sam, I think the Agora was on the agenda for has been on the agenda for many administrations before that. It is a matter of regret, I think, that it's taken so long, but I do think we should do it properly as opposed to doing something for doing something's sake. And one of the things that we need to do is make sure we get it right. Ironically, when the papers come forward next month, we couldn't quite get them ready because we were having to obtain some legal advice, is that whilst obviously the cost of the scheme has gone up, and no doubt we will see some odd politicking around that, all costs for all schemes have gone up over the past 4 or 5 years, but ultimately the scheme is viable and it will actually regenerate the area and hopefully create a small profit for the council, small surplus for the council, but that is not the main aim. The main aim is to regenerate Wolverton, to make sure that land values go up, to make sure that house prices go up, to make sure that people have proper homes in Wolverton, etc., etc. So this is a scheme not just in the 12 years of making this administration, but I think it's nearly 30 years as a council, and to be literally a few months, hopefully, away from pressing the go button is a very big thing for the town, and a very big thing that I think I get consistent emails about it, and one of the things that we wanted to do, as Councillor Townsend said, is we are going to council with a budget which is just about to come up. It would be sort of supercilious of us to sort of say that this isn't on the agenda and that budget is likely to have to include this in March, but we couldn't quite get the numbers over the line because of some legal advice we were getting, but the people of Wolverton definitely wanted an update and I hope this provides it. Councillor Townsend, are you happy with the recommendations? 1.1, that we note this report, and 1.2, that the report will come to hopefully to Council on the 18th of March 2026 to seek approval for the revised borrowing and revenue implications.
Yes, thank you, Leader.
Is Cabinet agreed? Good, thank you. Item 11, Q3 forecast outturn. Councillor Townsend.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I'll speed through this because I assume that people are going to want to talk about item 12. So this is just our regular quarterly update. We've only got 3 months left to go. You will see that there is an improved position. We're now looking at under £300,000 off it being balanced for the year, which is a positive number, one that we are very confident we will be able to achieve in the next 3 months. Probably worth saying as well that the HRA is very much on track. There is a bit of an underspend in there that will be reinvested in our stock as appropriate within the HRA. Thank you.
Thank you. Any members of the public wish to speak?
Leader.
Any members of the council wish to speak? Super. Keith? Councillor McLean?
Thank you. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, actually, a little bit, yeah.
Okay, I've taken out the headset. Thank you, Leader. Just a question on section 2.18 of the report. It relates to MK East and the building of the school and the community centre, health centre there. So I was a bit shocked to see that it's not connected to either mains electricity or water as yet. We all wanted schools and health centres to be in place before they were needed, or at the time they were needed, but those units have been finished for quite some months now, and it looks like they're going to be still unoccupied for some time. And at the moment, we're paying extra to keep them presumably dry and with the generators. But they all mentioned the point that they take the money from the tariff in the future. Does that mean that that money in the future that could have been used for something else can't be, because it's going to be used to pay for the extra costs we're incurring for those two buildings at MK East? Thank you.
I can answer that question if you want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so on the electricity for the health centre, the community centre and the school, obviously it is working. I've been in there many times with various people, including the Prime Minister, when he came to see it. That will be connected by the time the first house, by the time it's needed, but at the moment the utilities have not been connected to the mains because currently the developer hasn't yet finished the road up to those two buildings. You can't sort of put the utilities in when the infrastructure isn't there to do it, but that infrastructure is planned to be completed before the need arises on the estate. Hopefully that is helpful. I didn't see any other councillors. Councillor Townsend, do you want to sum up?
All good, thank you.
Good stuff. So our Cabinet agreed with the recommendations as on the report 1.1 to 1.9. Is that agreed? Thank you. Item 12, Council Budget 2026-27. Councillor Townsend.
Yes, thank you very much. We probably just want to acknowledge, first of all, that there was a couple of late papers on this. So the consultation papers have now been published and those can be found online. We never have a very high response rate to those consultations, but we did have more people than last year, so a win is a win. Also, we've had scrutiny report through, so thank you for that. Thank you to Scrutiny for their scrutinisation for the report and for the 11 recommendations that they made. We are going to take a read through those and think about those, and we will come back to you, but thank you for the time that you put into that. Thank you also, of course, to the finance team for all of the work that they've done throughout the year and getting us this final draft of the budget. Final draft where there may be some tweaks, because we obviously don't get the final settlement until the 9th of February, but we assume any tweaks will be minimal by the time it comes to full council. If anything, we're hoping that maybe it'll be better than worse, but you never know. And also thank you to the all of our directors for the work that they've done around the savings that we had to find, which obviously budget has scrutinised in depth. So good story overall. It is a balanced budget that we are bringing forwards. We did better than we thought we would from the provisional settlement, which we got on the 19th of December. So we were looking at a gap of 7.3 million. The provisional settlement has taken 2.3 million off that total. So we were then looking at a gap of around 5 million. Our long-term forecast is much more positive as well. I think last summer I was talking to you about a gap of around 32 million. That's now down to around 14 million over the next 3 years. So positive news, obviously not positive in terms of like, yay, everything's rosy and great. We know that's not the case. We know that there are still pressures. We discuss in depth again and again demand pressures, specifically in children's, costs of external placements. We know that the real living wage put demand pressures on. We know that inflation continues to put demand pressures on, etc., etc. But we are definitely in a better position than a lot of other councils nationally, and I think that needs to be recognised and celebrated, actually. Also, the savings that were brought forward, £5 million sounds like a lot, but I think anyone who sits on the Budget Scrutiny Committee will agree that there wasn't anything in there that was particularly hard-hitting in terms of an impact on frontline services. And the recommendations that came through in the scrutiny report reflect that actually as well. The main savings are coming from, so there was some deletion of vacant posts. All of these go through a process, so services are able to say if they feel like a post does need filling, if a vacant position does need filling, they can put a case forward, and we look at that on a case-by-case basis. But there have been a few vacant posts where we've been able to make internal restructures in departments, and we've been able to make it work without, so those posts are being deleted. We've also managed to flip some grant funding, so some of the way that the pots have changed in the settlement mean that we're able to move pots of money around, which makes the general fund more comfortable for us. We've done some interdepartmental restructures, and we've also done some investment, like invest to save projects as well, investing in kind of tech and AI as well to kind of streamline the way that we do things, make things more efficient, save the council money, but also make sure that we continue to provide those services that matter to residents. So yeah, I personally am delighted that we can still say we're a council who is not looking at closing any libraries or any leisure centres or any children's centres. We continue to maintain those, keep those open and keep those serving the people of Milton Keynes. The high needs budget, we're still not in deficit yet, but again, we are probably likely to be in deficit in the next, 12 months if things keep going as they are. We are still waiting on the white papers for that, so we don't know exactly what the resolution to that is going to look like, but as soon as we know more, we will obviously make sure that everyone is kept informed. And I'll probably stop there so that we can move, because I assume there'll be quite questions and comments. But yeah, overall, just want to reiterate a good position. In terms of the national picture, we have a balanced budget. Our gap over the next 3-4 years has been dramatically reduced, down to around 14 million. This year's budget gap was reduced thanks to the provisional settlement. The fact that we now get a 3-year settlement means that we've been able to pre-plan, and we're able to better plan ahead in terms of how we spend our money. That's been massively helpful as well. But I will now stop wittering on so people can ask any questions or make any comments.
Ross, we've got no members of the public wish to speak.
That's correct.
I think that says quite a lot in itself. Any members of the council wish to speak? Councillor Cannon.
Thank you. I'm one of the vice chairs of the Budget and Resources Scrutiny Committee, and the other vice chair is sitting to my left, physically.
Thank you, Peter.
We would like to reiterate the thanks to the officers in the finance team, particularly, and across all directorates, for working under some pressure due to the late receipt of the figures from central government. And that, in turn, gave us very limited and challenging timescales to do the scrutiny, particularly of the late savings. And we look forward in future years to having a little bit more considered scrutiny of any changes, and we would like to ensure that the Youth Council is involved in that process going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you for your comments, and thank you again for the Scrutiny Committee on their work. I don't have anything else to add, and obviously once we get the final settlement on 9th of Feb, we'll be coming for bringing the final budget forward to Council for approval.
Thank you very much. I will reserve my comments for the full Council at the end of the month. Is Cabinet agreed that we recommend the budget to Council with the minor amendments as necessary from the Director of Finance and Resources? Is that agreed? Thank you very much. I think that's the end of the agenda. Is that the end of the agenda? Wow. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, I was 1 minute out. Thank you very much. Meeting finishes at 7:16.